In the month of January, I sold every Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer box that I own. In this video, we're going to talk about why I did that, and we're going to recap all the other top flips of the month. In the month of December, I really cleaned a lot of stuff out. We hit $20,000 in gross sales, so I was a little worried coming in January that I wasn't going to have that much to sell. For the month of January, we sold 95 total items. This time, that could be a graded card, it could be an ETB, or it could be a case of ETBs. I didn't really break it down that hard, but 95 total items this month for a gross sales amount of $12,262.32. I sell everything on eBay, so after their grubby little fingers take all of their fees, I had a total of $5,669.91 in profit. That gives us a total return on investment percentage of 118%. Big number make Java happy. You know what other number makes Java happy? The subscriber number. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel and you enjoy this video, you should definitely subscribe down below so you don't miss any new videos when they're released. Also, hit the like button on this one, huh? Before we jump into everything, it's important to remember that the market can move quickly and aggressively. Just because these flips worked for me in January 2025 does not mean that they will work at whatever time you're watching this. Make sure to do your own research before making any purchases. Now let's jump into the top flips for the month of January 2025. The number 5 flip is this PSA 10 Dragonite GX rainbow card from the 2019 set Miracle Twins. This card in PSA 10 has an overall population of 366. The Sun and Moon rainbow cards catch a lot of flack, but I truly think that they are gorgeous. They have some amazing textures, including this Dragonite GX has a beautiful kind of swirl patterns all over the background. Great textured card. On top of that, it's the big, lovable, derpy Pokemon Dragonite, one of the most popular Pokemon from Gen 1. As a person who grew up on Gen 1, I have a lot of nostalgia for Dragonite. One of the best looking Dragonite cards in this hobby is Light Dragonite. I love that card so much from the Neo series. It's a great Pokemon. It's super popular. There are a lot of Dragonite collectors out there, and that's why I tend to pick up these full arts and the rainbows from the Sun and Moon era. It doesn't surprise me that at these prices, people are picking them up. I was able to grab a minty copy of this Dragonite GX for $22.35. I graded this card at PSA's bulk level grading fees, which was $15 at the time. Unfortunately, they have now raised those to $17, but I snuck this one in at the $15 amount, so that means our total cost is $37.35. I was then able to sell this card, buy it now on eBay for $89.99, and after eBay took all their fees, I was able to profit $39.85 on this Rainbow Dragonite GX. That gives me an ROI percentage on this sale of 106.7%. Now, if you guys have watched these videos before, I like to give 2 extra metrics after all of these breakdowns. The first is how long did it take for me to get this card back from PSA and then sell the card on the market. I try to illustrate just how long sometimes you can sit on these cards before they actually sell, especially cards listed buy it now. And then I like to compare my buy it now sale to the most recent auction sale for the same card. Kind of gives us an idea of whether or not it was worth it to hang on to the card for a little bit longer, or if it should have just been auctioned after I got it back from PSA. So I got this card back from PSA on October 22nd, 2024. I then sold the card on January 17th, about 3 months after getting it back from PSA. A little bit longer than I hoped for, but honestly, that's not too bad on a card like this. This card sold recently on eBay at auction for $51.15. So we made almost $40 more waiting a little bit to sell this card buy it now. It really depends on the card and whether or not waiting is a good idea or not. We had some cards last week that I sold in December that if I would have waited to sell them in January, they would have continued to go up in price. I still made a lot of money on those cards, but you never know how the market is going to act. That's why I always give the disclaimer at the beginning of these videos. The number 4 flip is this PSA 10 Espeon from the 2010 Japanese Pokemon card set Reviving Legends. This card has a Gem Man 10 population at PSA of 579. I believe this card we have seen in a top flips video in the past. I tend to buy these at pretty good prices, and Espeon is a very popular Pokemon, so they tend to do fairly well for me. And we didn't have a large number of insane sales this month, so it kind of fell in the sweet spot of being featured once again at number 4. Heart Gold Soul Silver is definitely my favorite of the Pokemon games. I feel like it has one of the best aesthetics of all of the games. It really has more of the Japanese influence in the game. With the music and a lot of the Japanese traditional architecture and the kimono girls, it really leans into a lot of that, which is stuff that I really love. I've been to Japan 3 times now, looking to go my 4th time in October, and I cannot get enough of it. It's funny because a year or 2 ago, you could find these cards between $15, $25 raw in mint condition. Obviously, the raw price has gone up. I was able to buy a minty copy of this card for $39.21. So that gap is tightening. They're not necessarily selling for as more as they used to, and the raw card price is coming up a little bit bit more than it was. A lot of Japanese cards from this era are now doing that, where that gap, that profit margin is tightening on them. After the $15 grading fee at PSA, my total all-in price was $54.21. I was then able to sell the card, buy it now on eBay for $114.99. After eBay took all their fees, my total profit was $42.05. That leaves me with an ROI percentage of 77.6%. Very similarly to the Dragonite, I got this submission back from PSA on October 29th, 2024. I then sold the card on January 12th. So again, it took about 2.5 to 3 months for me to get this card back, listed on eBay, and for it to sell. This card's last auction sale on eBay sold for $86. So we made about $30 more, again, just waiting a little bit longer to sell this card, buy it now. The number 3 top flip of the month was this BGS 10 Black Label Bulbasaur. This card came out as a promo for the illustration contest in 2022. It's got a Black Label 10 population at BGS of only 30. At the end of last year, I did do some experimenting. I did send quite a few cards off, maybe 75 or so cards off to BGS in multiple submissions to see how many Black Labels we could grab. My very first submission, I got 4 Black Labels. This submission, I got 3 Black Labels. And then my following submission, I got 0 Black Labels. It is fun to gamble sometimes and send stuff off to try and get that Black Label. But at the same time, if you get hit with a bunch of 9.5s like I got on my last submission, I'm cracking all those out and sending them to different grading companies. A couple cards are going to PSA, a couple cards are going to CGC, because I don't want to sell 9.5s. I want to sell those 10s, baby. I really like the idea of the community coming together and doing illustrations that then get put onto cards. I really like the illustration contest idea. Kind of a tangent, but I always thought that set Pokemon Go that came out a couple years ago, it would have been so much more fun for people to take photos next to like the Empire State Building with like a Bulbasaur and take that photo and send it into Pokemon and have that made into a card instead of the way that they went around to do that. Kind of bringing back the snap card idea, but making it with Pokemon Go. I really thought that was an interesting way that they could have taken that, but instead they went, you know, their own route. And Pokemon Go is a decent set for what it is, but I think it would have been really fun to involve the community in a lot of the artworks and on those cards. So I was able to buy multiple sealed packs of these cards. You get the Bulbasaur, the Arcanine, and the Greninja. All 3 artworks won the illustration contest in the year of 2022. I was able to buy those sealed packs for $2.01 a piece. And since the card got a 10 at BGS, I got charged a little bit more in fees. So it was $18 in fees instead of the normal $15. Because I got a 10, they upcharge you $3. But to be honest, like, what's $3 when the card sells for as much as it did? I actually sent this BGS submission off to Z&G Emporium, where he auctioned all of these cards for me. So this Bulbasaur actually sold at auction for $148.50. It didn't really help that there was another Black Label illustration Bulbasaur that was selling at the exact same time. It probably hurt the prices a little bit to have 2 going at once, but I am happy with what it sold for. And after Z&G took their fees for the consignment, I had a total profit on this card of $110.67. That's an ROI percentage of 553.1%. And believe me, it gets crazier from here. This takes us to our number 2 flip, which is this BGS 10 Black Label Detective Pikachu pre-order promo. This card released as a pre-order promo for the 2023 release of the new Detective Pikachu Returns video game. In BGS 10 Black Label grade, this card has a population of only 12. I think this card is incredibly cute. I love Growlithe, I love Pikachu. Now, I've never played a Detective Pikachu game. You guys can let me know in the comments if that is something that I should check out, if they're good or not. But I did see the movie, and you know, at first I was kind of against the idea of the movie, and then after it came out, I kind of liked it. I thought it was entertaining enough, and it did its job as being the first live-action Pokemon movie. I hope that they revisit the idea and they make the Pokemon a little less realistic looking. A lot of the Pokemon looked a little hokey, especially Charizard and some of the other Pokemon where they really tried to get realistic with them with scales and hair and stuff. We just need Pokemon to look like Pokemon. So I bought quite a few sealed copies of this card, just like the last promo, at $20 a piece. Again, I got hit with an $18 grading fee because I got a 10 at Beckett, so my total cost all in was $38. I sent this one off to Z&G Emporium as well, and it sold at auction for $1,540. It's crazy because the recent sales that I was comping it at were around like $400. And yeah, they sold a little while ago, but I didn't expect it to be over 3 times as much as the recent sale that I could find on any particular marketplace. After Z&G took their consignment fee, I had a total profit amount of $1,394.20. This is gonna sound absurd because it is, but my ROI percentage on this card was 3,668.2%. Absolutely insane. insanity. Talk about the timing being right to get that card back from BGS, to get a black label, to send it off to auction while we're in the midst of this insane market boom right now, and to get $1,540 for this card is absolutely, I mean, how do you do any better than that? It's like, how? Last but not least, the number one flip. I talked about it in the intro and we're going to talk about it right now. I sold every Pokemon Center ETB case or individual box that I own. This included all of these sets: Prismatic Evolutions, Surging Sparks, Paldean Fates, Temporal Forces, Twilight Masquerade, Shrouded Fable, and Stellar Crown. All of them. At the beginning of the Scarlet and Violet block, I made the conscious decision to buy at least one case of all of the Pokemon Center ETBs because they come with the promo that has a little stamp, and I thought, as a person who doesn't buy sealed product at all, that it seemed like a decent product to buy. It wouldn't take up too much space since it's only a case or two, and we'll just see what happens. And what happened was Prismatic Evolutions. Prismatic Evolutions came along, and the Pokemon Center ETBs at release, I got 3 cases of them because at the time, we weren't booming. You could buy multiple cases of PC ETBs because people didn't want them as much as they do now. So I got 3 cases of these, and when they came in and I looked on eBay, it's like, they're $250. The market price is crazy. It would have been foolish not to sell. But this crazy amount for Prismatic Evolutions kind of forced me to look at all my other PC ETBs and say, I wonder if they've gone up. And all of them pretty much had, except, you know, Shrouded Fable, but Shrouded Fable's terrible, so I don't really include that. So I made the decision, while the market is in this crazy boom and everything's skyrocketing in terms of price and the PC ETBs are going up and the promos inside these things are popping off, I made the decision to sell them all. Is it likely that they keep going up from here? Maybe. I don't know. But I knew that a lot of these boxes could already profit me over 40% return on investment. And having spent just over 5 figures on singles in the same month, it was time to let these go. So these numbers are the totals for every box that I sold on eBay. I bought all of these boxes at MSRP, which I believe is $65 a box. So it was $2,787 on all the boxes and all the cases that I had. My sale price for them all on eBay, buy it now, was $6,451. After eBay took all their fees, my total profit on my PC ETBs was $2,697.54. That leaves me with an ROI percentage of 96.8%. Another great month selling Pokemon cards on eBay. I hope you guys did great as well. And of course, if you missed my top flips recap for December 2024, you should check that out right here.